Hey, Chris.
How are you? I
I am good. I feel like this is becoming a regular thing for us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I always thank Tim when I see him for being so gracious to allow me to substitute for him on these special episodes. Because
Yeah,
the
well,
chemistry you guys have, I love listening to the two of you together. And I heard your interview with France Jolie was
uh,
amazing.
she was incredible. She was just
She
down to
loves
earth.
you too. I mean, you guys obviously will be friends for life. So,
Yeah, she's actually going to be in Atlantic City
oh, awesome.
June
Okay,
2nd at the Hard Rock.
nice.
I think we may trek up there and go see her.
Oh, she will love that. She will be so excited
Yeah,
to see you guys.
yeah. That's what's great about the performers from when we grew up. You know, they actually, and you know, the funny thing is, and I said it to Tim, it's weird when you're listening when you're 13 or 14, never knowing what life is going to hold in front of you, right? And
Sure.
here we are interviewing the people we used to listen to, and it's great.
Yeah, that was cool. Can I ask if you got the other one that you mentioned
Which one's that?
with an A?
No, actually, I tried to reach out, but it looks like her communication is very like minimal. I think the
Okay.
only way is probably Facebook, and there hasn't been a lot of updates on there.
All right, give her a shot. I saw a bunch of people. They gave a free concert last summer,
Okay.
um, and she was one of them.
Really? How'd she
Hmm.
sound? Do you know?
She
Or
sounded great. Yeah, she sounded great.
really?
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Well,
Probably she probably sounded the best of the group of artists that we saw.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I seen Taylor Dane in October, who is just every single time. I'm not sure how she's just like untouched.
yeah.
Her voice
And she
is
looks better than ever. Like I saw pictures of her. She looks incredible.
really, and then I saw Lisa too. She was there.
Yeah, I saw. Actually, I saw a package a few years ago. Lisa, Jody Watley, and Taylor Dane.
Ugh.
That was a good
Yeah.
package.
Jody Watley, great. Taylor Dane, great. Lisa,
The night I saw her, she was pretty good.
one Lisa's good for now. No more Lisa. No. Mm-mm. All right, so Chris, we're going to jump in. Our show is sponsored by Uberlube. Yes.
There you go.
You can visit their website at uberlube.com. Their product is silicone based with a touch of vitamin E. Isn't that nice? And comes in glass bottles. And if you're on the go, travel. And
And
what's
Tim
the,
always likes to talk about how it gives a little sheen to his hair, and then
yes.
and then I always get a little angry at him.
It's okay, Chris. You could use it on different parts of your body with the
That's
hair.
right. And it might give a little sheen to my shiny bald
It,
head.
it will give you a shiny scalp. Then people
That's
could
right.
read your scalp. Yeah.
Correct.
So also, you can send any questions if you need advice. Send them over to Tim or I to our Facebook page. You could DM us, Loose Lips the podcast on Facebook, or you can send an email to icavellievents@hotmail.com, which is great.
And do you want to talk about the exciting news about where people can find your show?
Yes. Well, they can find it not only on YouTube, Loose Lips the podcast, but make sure you subscribe because we need those subscribers. Then eventually we can get some free product and push it on here. Can't just use Uberlube. You need some other stuff, like maybe some toys to go with the Uberlube. And Chris, I have a show coming out next Saturday.
Nice.
Yes, it's a brand new show. It's a play called Bitter Betties. I wrote it and produced it, and Tim directed it. And it premieres next Saturday at Don't Tell Mama in New York City, 8 p.m. Come on, come all. It's going to be a good time. And then we're doing a little show afterwards for Tim and I's birthday.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's quite a feat.
Yeah. Well,
That's no easy thing. People don't understand what it's like to write
yeah,
and create something from the scratch. So
it,
congratulations.
it's a lot of fun. And when you have the actors that are, willing to go outside the box, you've done a lot of different stuff in the city. You've
Yeah.
done improv, right? Yeah, you've done improv.
Yeah. I did improv with UCB and
Yeah.
a couple of shows with them. So It's a buzz. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%. So
So
we're going to go right in. Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
before we jump in, I just want to mention why I'm wearing red, and I see that the fates
Yes.
aligned, and you're wearing red. Red for this month, yeah, especially we're doing it like, for example, at the agency that I work for, we wear red on Fridays this month, and it's to it used to be for autism awareness, but now it's called autism acceptance. They're moving now. It's more likely that people are aware of what autism is. They have
Okay.
people that are diagnosed in their life, and but now we want to move to acceptance. And I think that's a broader sense of the word, where like accept people into your life who are on the spectrum.
Love
If
it.
you don't know anyone, get to know someone who's on the spectrum, because they are the most unique and interesting and, smart. It's
Mhm.
amazing. The people that I've met in my life who are on the spectrum are just some of the greatest people that I've had in my life. So this is just to represent that, and hopefully there'll be some dialogue about it this month and on throughout the year.
That's great, Chris. And I just love that you're always participating in amazing organizations. And is there a website that people can?
I believe autism acceptance.com.
Okay.
I believe that's the website, but if not, I'll post it, and I'll send you the link, and you can post
Yeah,
it. That'd be
that would
great.
be amazing. Yep. Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
Should we dive in?
Sure.
Good.
We are here today. If I'm here, then you know why I'm here. I'm special co-host today to talk to our guest tonight, who is returning for a fifth time since 2021. He's back to chat about Record Store Day, which is actually today, Saturday, April 22nd.
Yeah. Yeah, we were really excited because our diva, Sheena Easton, is on the list of releases today. A new double vinyl, the Essential 7-inch singles, 1980 to 1987. And our guest is here to talk about it.
Please welcome the incredible Adam Mattera.
Hello, thanks for the introduction.
There we go.
Adam!
Introduction, I like it. Incredible.
Incredible. and live from London.
Yeah, live from sort of sunny, slightly overcast London. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's better than over here, I'll tell you that. We're in April, spring my butt.
Yeah, it's been a wacky weather. We had 1 week, I think it was last week, Adam, where every day was in the mid 80s, which is so unusual for New York in April. So
Yeah.
And then it went back to normal in the upper 50s, and you see people out in shorts and t-shirts who just don't, I guess, watch the weather.
Right. Yeah. It's that weird time.
So the last time you were here, Adam, we talked about Take My Time, the CD, DVD release, right?
Yes.
Now, this is amazing because you're actually here the day Record Store Day is.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Record Store Day, if you can?
Well, so Record Store Day has been going for quite a while, I think, at least a decade. I'm not 100% sure, but over a decade. Right. With the idea really being that independent record stores trying to do one day a year, where they incentivize people to go physically into the store and buy purchases, vinyl. And so it's built so much over the years. I mean, it's getting bigger and bigger every year. So lots of labels create special one-offs, limited edition, vinyl, sets, double albums, picture discs, 7-inch singles, 12-inch singles, all kinds of stuff, the whole range, from big major artists. I think this year there's there's always some Madonna thing going on. There's always U2, there's always a Paul McCartney, across the Bowie, whoever. They all do it, and so then you get big queues as it's got more popular in those independent record stores. You'll get more queues of people lining up right from an hour before they open in order to get in line to make sure they buy stuff.
That's great.
So we so for the Sheena campaign I've been working on with Cherry Red and RT, the guys who own the EMI catalog, we did one last year, which was the definitive 12-inch single.
12-inch. Mm-hmm.
There it is. Yeah. And that went really well. I was really pleased. You know, put a lot of time into really getting the artwork, you know, top notch and original. And there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that one was basically a collection of all the main, pretty much all the 12-inch singles released in that era. And so there was the idea of doing one for this year as well, because that did so well. It sold out. So I came up with a few different ideas, but in the end, I settled on the idea of doing the essential 7-inch singles, because there'd never really been a proper vinyl release that covered and included everything.
Correct.
Of course, you couldn't. I mean, it's here. I don't know. Have you seen it? You've probably seen a picture of it.
Picture, yes, but not the whole.
Yeah, I saw a video of it, Adam. I just wanted to let you know that looks great.
Amazing.
There's a guy on YouTube who does a video of all the major record store day releases, and
an unboxing video.
Yeah.
Yes, he included the Sheena Easton release, and he said this was something that he has never seen. He was talking about the quality of the inside sleeves. He was talking about the bonus 45 single,
yes,
and how that, you know, was a very special thing. And, you know, so it was nice to hear him acknowledge that amongst all of the record store day releases.
Oh my God, I was really thrilled with that. I see, you're that's take my time.
Yes, to take my time one. And this sold out, correct?
That did sell out, yeah. So we've got lots of things going on. So basically what we're doing is, with Take My Time, just to explain, that was the first in a series of reissued, remastered vinyls of every album, which are coming out in sequence. The next one will be You Could Have Been With Me, and so on. So that was the first of those. But separate from that, because Record Store Day is only once a year, that's why the essential singles have come out. Now, with the essential singles, oh, look, big old Sheena.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so we took a whole...
Jeez.
You know what's so cool about this, Adam?
Yeah.
Is that you're doing things that when she was on a major record company label, they weren't taking the time to do. Such great packaging. You know, the packaging on some of them was better than others, but nothing like this. You know, like, this is just incredible to see. You know, that's what I always say to you. Such respect and, you know, just care going into the packaging and making sure that it's the best it could be. And you really are doing such an incredible job. So that's why we call you the incredible Adam Mattera.
And so does the world of Sheena Easton. I mean, geez, Adam, they love when you're on our show because we get chock full of information. And, you know, I would like to know, because you mentioned it in the beginning when we were just chatting, the artwork. Now, how does that all come into play? Like, the artwork is amazing. Like, on this release, I love that album cover. That actually would have been a great first album cover. Yeah,
that was from the sessions that was around about the session in between the first and second album.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Came from. So basically, how does it come about? Well, fortunately,
I like to refer to that as the Tootsie photo shoot, by the way. For some reason, it reminds me of Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie with the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I never thought that, but now I can see it in a whole new way.
I think Dustin's cleavage was bigger.
Well, basically, I work at the art director for the project is Chris Lupton. And together we come up with an idea for what it will be, and together decide on what photos will be used where. And, you know, we want to do a gatefold, so the idea of having a big image that will be big enough to spread right across.
Yes.
Fortunately, through RT, had access to loads of imagery from the time shot, you know, that belongs to EMI.
Okay.
So that's been good because that's helped. Also, I should mention a guy who's really helped, Fred Shorb, who's helped with. He's a fan in the US who has all the singles and everything. So he scanned like high res. So on this one, for example, we've included on the back of each vinyl.
Go Fred.
Fred
that's cool.
like scanned the singles, you know. so that we could annotate and have all the chart information for the UK and the US release, and so on. So, yeah.
Was there a photo you were stuck on for the cover that you weren't sure which one we were going to use? Or
yeah, there were a couple of different options we tried.
yeah.
But in the end, I just felt that this looked that this worked with all the colours, and also we've got like a similar session or back, so it just held it together. Just like on the previous one we took, that one from last year, you know, that was like a reversion of the one we had done for the CD.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
so
I felt like this should have been the cover of Do You.
Do You, yeah.
That picture, the picture on Do You is pretty awful. But,
yeah, that was a great shot. It was never really used on the cover of anything. So at the time. So
you know, you talk about the gatefold.
Yeah,
I remember when we were younger, the only artist that had the gatefold, Diana Ross had it on almost all her albums.
Move the gatefold with Diana Ross. Yeah.
Olivia Newton-John had a few.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was very rare to get a gatefold. So now to have gatefolds is pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's true. And then also with this, so this is a bonus 7-inch.
Ah.
So there it is. That was, I mean, like you were saying about attention to detail. So just so Sheena fans, just to point out this little thing, this logo was the logo that was used in the era of So Far So Good, which was the kind of era that this single, Anything Can Happen, it's been released here, the double A side with Sweet Talk. So these tracks were never released at the time, as fans will know, but
were prepped for single release, both of them.
Well, yeah, we're prepped for single. I mean, like the Sweet Talker had a Shep Pettibone remix done, so he wasn't cheap. He was a bit huge at the time. He was doing Donna to 5 Star to, I don't know, Pet Shop Boys, everything. So they spent money on these tracks in '86, but shelved them. So in creating what could have been the sleeve of the release, we were very specific about wanting the look to be something that could have potentially been done. So we used the logo for that era, the So Far So Good logo, and a kind of design that would.
And can you show the
represent that era? Yeah.
Can you show the record?
Oh, the record. So the record itself is.
So, just so collectors know, you don't need that little plastic 45 adapter.
No.
They used to need that for those 45s. You'd have to put the adapter in the middle.
Right. Yeah, the ones that came from a jukebox.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, they had that great big hole in the middle. That was huge. Yeah.
Yep.
That big adapter thing. Yeah.
Like Ike.
And I get played all the time.
But what was another thing that was interesting about pulling together this one, the Essentials, the 7-inch, is because, you know, obviously we're just talking about the EMI era, which began with Mon Girl and ended with Eternity.
Yes.
Of the singles. But there were, in order to keep the sound the best it could be, I limited it to 5 tracks per side. Because once you start getting, the more you put on, it affects the sound quality. So you want to keep every side to about between 20 and 25 minutes, really, to get the maximum. Which
explains why there were always, I guess, a limited amount of songs on an album, single.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if people were conscious of that, then they would limit it to that. Exactly. So there are 20 here. So the 20 that are chosen are the ones that made the top 40 in either UK or US on some chart. But there were other ones as well. You know, there were a few other singles that came out, like Take My Time came out. In the
Christmas All Over the World, I think, came out as well, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. There are a few bits and pieces of other ones, but this is all the main ones, really.
Right.
And also in their single versions. So, for example, Swear is a slightly different mix.
On
the album. Do It For Love is a different edit. It's much shorter. So is Eternity. Some of them are the same as the album versions, but maybe about half or so of them are different, but slightly different versions, really. Shorter or different mix.
Love that.
Yeah, I remember I actually remember the difference in the Swear single mix, because they took the echo effect off of one section in there. And I always thought it should have stayed in there, but I remember that for some reason they made the decision to take that off. But
yeah, who knows what? Yeah.
you know, that's cool. And just so everyone knows, make sure you look inside one of those gatefolds. That's where the single is. It's inside.
The single's in. Yes, that's how it's been packaged. Yeah, it's shrink wrapped, and so the single will be.
And that was one of the comments that the YouTuber had said, that, you know, he had never seen a Record Store Day release with a bonus 45 single inside the packaging. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, I'm not aware of that. I hadn't done any research specifically into whether it had been done or not. It just seemed like a nice thing to do because, you know, all the tracks that are on here have been released before on vinyl, one way or the other.
Right.
Somewhere. Have they? Yeah, they have. But of course, not these haven't. These are no. And I kind of imagine that it would have been, you know, it could have been. I think it came very close to being. I mean, when I was originally started this project, I was in contact. Michael J is the guy who co-wrote Anything Can Happen. And he was really helpful because there was a certain, I managed to locate some mixes of it, but there was one particular mix of it I couldn't find in the vaults, and he had a copy of it.
Michael J was on Loose Lips.
Michael J, of course.
Wow, so much fun. We talked about, you know, obviously Sheena, and so funny with his story, how he had this dream of working with Sheena, and then sure enough, she got to record his track, but then it was never released.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And he had the cassette of it.
Yeah.
He had the promo cassette of Anything Can Happen, which, so it got to the point where they had even sort of, it was so close to being released. And he was, I think he was even 100% across what were the machinations for why it didn't happen. But if it had, I don't know. I mean, I can't say for certain that Sweet Talker would have been the B-side. I doubt that. It probably was the second.
No, it sounded like they hoped Sweet Talker was an eventual single. My understanding was that Anything Can Happen was going to be the they were hoping that So Far So Good was going to do better than it did on the charts. It had just missed the top 40, and I think they had higher expectations for it. Yeah. So the album that they were recording was more in the vein of that, and Anything Can Happen was going to be the single that was released right after So Far So Good had peaked. And then that would be the introduction to that next album, which would have more up-tempo songs than what eventually turned into No Sound But a Heart.
That's right. Exactly.
Sweet Talk, I think, was held off. I believe that was from your research, was held off until December or January. So maybe when they delayed the album after So Far So Good, they were going to still go ahead with that, and then decided to change it even after that.
Yeah, I'd really like to, and I will try to track down some of the people involved in those decisions to see if I can piece together the story of exactly what happened. But I think that the general gist of it is exactly what you say. At one point, it was going to be more of a pop dance kind of up-tempo sort of frothy pop thing, a little bit in the vein of Let's Hear It for the Boy, Denise Williams vibe, very 80s pop sounding, like So Far So Good, like Anything Happen. And then it shifted to this kind of adult contemporary more vibe. Pretty much the album No Sound But a Heart is, it's not all ballads, but it's very ballad oriented.
Yeah, it's ballads and mid-tempos.
Mid-tempo,
yeah. And
then Eternity, which is kind of this anomaly.
It stood out on its own. Right. Shockwave I loved Shockwave. When that was the B-side, I think that was the B-side of Eternity, right?
That was, yeah.
Yeah, I loved Shockwave.
Yeah, me too.
Shockwave kind of anticipates where the more the direction she went in The Lover and Me, really.
Yeah.
Sort of. It kind of has a much more R&B vibe. And I suppose it a little bit in the mode of Doom.
It had a little Janet, a little Madonna, I thought at the time, but
yeah, there was a funk there, and she wrote great. That's a great lyric she wrote that.
Yes, it's interesting because Sheena, we've talked about before, but Sheena could do so many different things. You know, did pop and jazz and R&B and dance, and rock, and she could shift in these different ways. That when you look at the overview of her career, you can see how different decisions were being made, not necessarily always by her or by other forces or a confluence of different forces, of taking different directions. And sometimes they got it right, and sometimes maybe they were too cautious and got it wrong. It seems like with No Sound But a Heart, somebody there must have been championing the idea of like, no, she ballads always work for her.
Yeah.
Got to push her like that. And then, you know, but when she re-signed to MCA, they were like, absolutely no, we're going to go for real state-of-the-art R&B, LA and Babyface.
Yeah.
That's going to work. And of course it did.
Right.
But it shows you how much those decisions shape that, combined with how much marketing effort they put into it as well, of course.
Yeah.
Shape someone's career and how well they do, how they're perceived, I think.
Yeah. She definitely, I'm sure there was some battles she had to fight with the record companies throughout the process of recording stuff. And, you know, because just from her own interest and from when you go to see her in concert, you can tell this is an artist who wants to explore different genres. So I'm sure there was some pushback on that. And especially at that time, because all the executives that she had worked with up until that point had switched over. EMI had merged with another record company and became EMI Manhattan. And that was right at the exact time that all of this was going on. So I'm sure that played a part in it as well. And she had come off Do You, which again is revered by a lot of her fans as one of her best 80s albums, but it wasn't a commercial success. It certainly didn't do the expectations of a Nile Rodgers produced album. But so you're coming from having Nile Rodgers produce an album that didn't really have a big hit. Then you have Narada Michael Walden doing So Far So Good, which, you know, didn't do as well as it should have. It's probably the one single the fans cite the most as being a missed opportunity for a huge hit. And then, so now, you know, there probably was some hesitation about up-tempo. Wait, you know, we have to reboot and go back to the base of adult contemporary. And so that may have morphed that. I'm not sure, you know, one thing I'm sure is that from reading interviews with her throughout the years, that no one's going to talk her into doing something she doesn't want to do. But,
no, definitely.
But you can imagine maybe there was some executives that were saying, look, we're having difficulty marketing you in this way, so we're going to move towards this. And in typical Sheena Easton fashion, you know, the during this whole time, she lands Miami Vice. She lands the duet with Prince for You Got the Look. And she has a major campaign in the U.S. for Jack LaLanne and health spas. And so that puts her just in the forefront of, without a record deal, but in the forefront of the public for, you know, a high profile amount of time. So it was a good setup for MCA to swoop in and say, you know, here's what we can offer you. And for her to say, yeah, I'm down for that. So,
well, I think that was, you know, kind of similar too in '82 when Madness, Money and Music didn't do well. And there was that little lag. And then all of a sudden she's back with Kenny Rogers, and then Telephone comes out. You know, everyone thought that album was going to, you know, stiff as well. And it wound up being great.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at that part of her history recently, actually. And the, I don't want to say failure of Mad's Money and Music, but I've got the I mean, because it's a great album, one of her best, but commercially it was a dip was starting to happen, and she didn't really land a major pop hit for that album. So that duet with Kenny Rogers was a really important strategic move. Read the story behind it. Masler, is it Jim Masler? I can't remember. David Masler, was it?
David Massey, yeah.
David. The guy who was the head of EMI America, Liberty Records at the time, he championed that idea. Kenny was recording that album. Kenny had already wanted to do We've Got Tonight. It wasn't necessarily originally going to be a duet, but he wanted to revitalize, get Sheena back on the radio.
Right.
So the idea of that superstar duet, of combining them, which is going to guarantee radio play because Kenny was really hot at the time.
Yeah.
And the idea of superstar duets was really hot at the time. I mean, I think that superstar duets had only really been a thing for 2 or 3 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about people like Barbra Streisand and Donna Summer, that's
Right.
a perfect example of like a record company created event record. And then you have Lionel Richie and Diana Ross, and then you have I don't know, Kenny and Dolly was probably after.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it
after,
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that would it always made people were interested, you know, and so
Sure.
it was kind of a fail-safe move.
Yeah.
And We've Got Tonight was a great track. It wasn't even like it was already a hit. It had been a hit,
Right.
not a
Right.
huge, but it had been a hit for Bob Seger. So all the factors that they put together was like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
But interestingly, where Sheena went with the follow-up with Best Kept Secret and with the single Telephone specifically to reassert herself in the charts was much more in line with where people like Olivia and John were at the time.
Yeah.
Much more. She was a huge fan of the Laura Branigan record, which the producer Greg Matheson the year before taken to number 2, I think, in the charts. So it sounds very much in that mode, Telephone, and it was quite a different sound for Sheena. So that was one of her important. That's probably one of her most important. You know, when you look at the singles, certain ones of them, certain key ones are like, oh yeah, that was a major moment.
Right.
That defined the idea of her into something MTV friendly and much younger, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
And their collaboration on Private Heaven was just, it really went outside the box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For Greg as well. Like Greg's was definitely 80s synth, and this I loved the different mixes you had of Strut, where it was just more of a drum, and it was live, and not that the machines. It was nice.
Yeah.
Sound.
That's a great record. That's still her biggest selling album.
Yeah.
Private Heaven, actually.
It had, I think it was 1.5 million?
I think so, yeah. Something like that. Definitely over 1 million, yeah. So, you know, that's something. So it's interesting, the different moves in terms of different genres she covered and the different sort of strategies behind it, I think.
Right. Even the Spanish album, right? How that just came about, and how hard that was to find. Let me tell you, I was, oh God, how old was I in 84? 18.
You were 32.
It's not the new math, Chris. And I could not get that album anywhere. You could not find it. And there was a place called Crazy Eddie's at the time. And they would always have international section where you can buy albums that were released in the UK. And once in a while, I would come across like You Could Have Been With Me. That was, you know, the different version from the US, but could never get the Spanish album ever.
Right. Yeah, I didn't get it till much more recent years. I mean, it wasn't released in the UK at all.
No.
I think it was. Was it released on some level in the US?
I don't think so.
Maybe it was an import.
No, I believe there was some technical or legal difficulties. I remember hearing interviews around that time with her where they were trying to get it released in the US about a year later, and I don't know, they were running into, she said, manufacturing issues, but I think it was more legal issues.
Right. Well, they pretty much, when you start looking at the timeline, and you know what she was, which I've been doing, like when I've been writing these notes for the different albums, and like, okay, so she was touring then, and she was recording then, and then she was doing this. You realize how absolutely relentless her career was at that point. Well, it didn't really stop throughout that period. It was just absolutely nonstop. You know, maybe there was a week or two holiday here, but then it was like, and now I'm going to the Far East, and now I'm touring Japan, and now I'm going to do preview doctor on the album. Now I'm going to do the TV promotion in Europe, and now I'm going to come back to America, and it just never ends. And when she was just literally, she recorded the Best Kept Secret album. Then there was a tour that took her to all over America, and then went to the Far East.
Mm-hmm.
Then came back. Then she did promo, and then she was immediately back in the studio with Greg, and there's the guy. I can't remember the guy who.
Trevor.
No, for the Spanish album.
Oh, the Spanish album. Oh,
Juan.
Calderon.
Juan Carlos something.
Calderon, I think.
Yeah. because they co-produced those tracks, and he he kind of did or helped her with addiction and everything. But that was all done in LA, pretty much straight away afterwards, because a big chunk of the Spanish album is Best Kept Secret. Well, yeah.
Okay, right.
That album, I think, about half of it, I think. And then tracks from that are done before and a few new ones and blah blah blah. Yeah. So yeah, part of the
And there were plans. I remember also hearing her talk about recording a second album in Spanish, but it never came to fruition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, during the Do You interviews, I remember hearing that her say that she was going to record another.
Ooh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But again, there's something like, even though it had the EMI label in Latin America, it was considered a completely separate record company, and so I think there were some issues that were never resolved.
Well, hopefully she wouldn't pick a 12-year-old boy to do a duet again with.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was 12. How old is he?
Oh, I don't know. I'm making it up, but he had to be young.
Sounded like he was 12 for sure. Luis Miguel, yes.
Chris, hold up your album, the 12-inch, and the color of the album, and then the one you have, Adam. What's the color of the vinyl for this release?
Oh, for this release, let me show you. Okay, so we have the actual album this time is white vinyl.
Nice.
Wow. I love that. And oh my God. Now, how are the colors picked for this? Because I could see where that blends with the album a little bit. Chris's.
Yeah. Oh, how are the colors of the vinyl picked?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly, to coordinate with the album.
Coordinate.
So, yeah, so on that one, on this one, there's kind of these orange tones in everything. So orange and white, and so it's orange and white, and black.
That is so great.
Black, orange, and white. On
love
that
it.
one, it was the pink. Yeah, so tonally, they kind of fit in with either the brand new artwork that's been created for these Record Store Day ones, or the existing artwork. So that with
yes, the yellow, right?
It was yellow, yeah, because
which I could see that, yeah.
Kind of works with the, and then it'll be for You Could Have Been With Me. It's going to be blue.
Oh,
nice.
So yeah, so tonally, so hopefully they can all be. I haven't quite figured it out yet, and it depends on what colors are available.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling I know what Madness Money in Music, what color.
I think I do too. I think I do.
Yeah.
I think I do too.
But there's always different options actually for kind of translucent vinyl, high gloss, speckled vinyl. What's it called? I can't remember. There's a whole chart you get from the music.
Oh wow. How has it been getting them to process the vinyl? Because I know there was a delay. By the way, I just did a little quick research when you were talking about it, but it was since 2007 Record Store Day has been.
Oh, was it 2007? Okay, yeah, right. So it's kind of
and back then, like you were describing, the vinyl was selling so low that a lot of mom and pop stores, which were all the chains were not carrying vinyl anymore. They were starting to have to shut down. And so this was a last-ditch effort to kind of save those independent vinyl record stores. And it did work. It would help sustain them for months, just that one day of having that traffic come in. And now what's happened since then is that vinyl is selling at levels that they haven't seen since 1991, I think, or 1990. And basically that's because a lot of college kids who went to dorm rooms started to buy record players as like a novelty thing for them and their friends, and then they started forming the habit of listening to vinyl and hearing the difference and just the physical action of putting a record on and listening to it. And the packaging and all of that. So it's had quite a resurgence, and so things like this, these events are really big. Like I told you, I got the 12-inch collection at Coachella,
Yes.
which was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to see.
Sorry.
Go ahead, go, you go.
I was just going to say, yeah, and of course you have people that, as well as that, a younger generation rediscovering or discovering for the first time the joy of like listening to what that vinyl experience is like, which I suppose is so different from the thing where you can skip everything. It's just 2 seconds. It kind of forces you to actually, no, I will listen. It's a different kind of audio experience because it's like the idea of a beginning and an end, a sequence,
Right.
A story that album tells, and you have to turn it over, and then there was a whole sort of art to the creation of a record and what you thought about, which is so different from a Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've got that audience, but of course you've also got the audience of the people that were there the first time or witnessed the death of vinyl, that are rediscovering and rebuying and wanting to collect all the different versions and wanting to keep them sealed even and not even play them. You have that side of thing. I was reading an article the other day in The Guardian, the UK paper, newspaper, The Guardian, and they were saying that now it's gotten to the point where their anniversary, because we've had like the idea of the 25th anniversary reissue or the 20th, but now it's getting shortened and shortened. So you're having like it's a 5-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Right.
Now, about 5 years ago are having anniversary limited edition repressing. So it's kind of
Right. Isn't that crazy? Right. Oh.
Yeah, I just bought. My friends moved into a new apartment, so my housewarming gift was a record player, and I got them both an album of their favorite artists. So, and one of them was a 10-year reissue of something. So,
right, yeah.
But are you finding delays with the processing plants for vinyl?
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to go really. I mean, this one, today's one, just come out. This went to this was last year. I mean, I think the deadline was last October, if I remember rightly. So that's how far in advance. October, right. November, December, January, February, March. Yeah, so it was like 6 months. It may have been even before that. So the vinyl has to go first, and you have to get the test pressings, and then so the artwork goes a little bit later in terms of production. But essentially, you have to get in the queue about 6 months.
So are you already in the queue for all of the releases, for the vinyl releases?
No, not all of them. No, some
Get
of them
in the queue, Adam.
Well, there are reasons in terms of how the production's process works and the kind of getting signed off, and so no. But we have got a couple in the queue.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
obviously, though, you could have been with me. I think it's actually already been posted onto Cherry Red.
Yes. Yeah. Which is great. And that I'm excited for, because that is one of my favorite album covers of Sheena's entire collection.
I think it's definitely the most iconic. It's the most used in interviews and news media and social media. I mean, it's an incredible picture. First of all, just the color schemes, her look on it is so.
The eyes. That I always said that the makeup is just iconic.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's never looked more beautiful than she does in the cover album. Yeah, it's fantastic, and it really was a nice kind of continuation, really, of the first album. So knowing the colors and how beautiful they come out now compared to when they were first I can't wait to see the re-release for this, because I know it's going to be really glossy, I'm sure. Yes, it will be. Yeah, I mean, it should be coming back. I'm hoping to see a copy of it in the next week or two. Hasn't actually come back to the factory yet, but it'll be out.
And the other good news for fans, which was very exciting, is in the last 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks ago maybe, the singles collection was finally released on Spotify and Apple Music.
Yep.
And so if you want to hear her unreleased mixes or singles, it's all up on Spotify and
That was exciting.
Apple Music now,
Yes.
major streaming services.
Something dropped, didn't it? I saw that. Yeah, the original 3 CD set that was the first campaign. Yeah,
because that was one thing fans kept asking for. When is it going to be released on? When is it going to be released on Spotify?
Yeah.
So
and we have a lot of fan questions today too. So we have a lot. But so what's next, Adam? We know You Could Have Been With Me, right? That's released. When's that? That's in the summer, correct?
You Could Have Been With Me, I think, is the end of. Wait a minute. So now April. May, is it the end of May or end of June? I'm getting my dates confused.
Okay.
I should have my list somewhere. Let's have a look, and I can be really specific. I've got my schedule up here. You Could Have Been With Me is coming out on the 23rd of June.
Okay. Sweet.
So, and then next will, of course, be Madness, Money and Music, which the vinyl. But there was also going to be and I can't really get into the specific details, but there will be a deluxe edition of it, yeah. So that's
physical deluxe edition of the CD. Is that what you're referring to?
So yes. So with Madness, Money and Music, there will be the vinyl, which will be the coloured vinyl, the third in the sequence of the vinyl releases.
Yep.
And there will also be a deluxe edition, which will be a CD and DVD, in keeping with what like Take My Time was.
Yes.
A couple months ago. Yeah. So it'll be the original album and bonus tracks and some unreleased material.
Nice.
Which is incredibly exciting.
Yes. And now this is all 2023 for those two. The Madness, Money, Music, and You Could Have Been With Me.
You Could Have Been With Me will be June, end of June, and Madness, Money, and Music will be in. I can't say for sure yet because we're still in production on it. So until it's all signed off and all done and everyone's happy with it, I can't really commit to what date it will be. But hopefully by the autumn.
Sweet.
By the autumn. So there are things coming out every 2 or 3 months, really.
That's great.
Going on, and that was what the plan is to continue to do. There'll be something coming out every 2, 3 months. Yeah.
Cool. Now, can we go into the questions, Chris? You good with that?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So the first question we have is from Gary, and he wants to know: will the abandoned album that ended up being No Sound But a Heart be released as part of the Cherry Red campaign? We already know there were some songs such as Rhythm of Romance and Young Hearts Run Free recorded for this project, so it would be great if they finally see the light of day. And I think we discussed this somewhat, but
I think we did touch on it. Well, that's absolutely right. There was a sort of, as we discussed a minute ago, that there was a whole bunch of sessions that were done, pretty much an album's worth of material done that never saw the light of day, including those 2 tracks. The plan is that will. I'm hoping that everything comes out. That will be subject to clearances, subject to Sheena's approval, subject to X, Y. I mean, various things have to be done before I can say with certainty it will. But that's absolutely the plan. Yeah.
Oh, God.
That material. I found that in the vault. That was in the LA vault. I've heard all that material. It's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing it wasn't released.
Yeah, now, I don't know if you could talk about it, but a lot of stuff we haven't heard before or is it,
Yeah, lots. But that, like an album's worth, yeah. So those 2 tracks that were mentioned, Rhythm of Romance, which I think is on YouTube, and you can hear it on YouTube, and Young Hearts Run Free, a cover of a song made famous by Candy Staton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The others, there aren't any cover versions. They are various sessions with Narada's. Michael Walden's done some. What's the other producer involved?
Nick Martinelli.
Yeah, Nick Martinelli. It's definitely more up-tempo material in the vein that we were talking about. There aren't any other There are a few titles that I think are out there already, actually, like 5 Star Love Affair. Is it 5 Star?
Yes, that's a title I've been hearing. I've never, obviously never heard the song, but that was a title.
Yeah,
definitely a title.
It sounds like a Nick Martinelli one, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, but it's very upbeat. It's very
good.
And yeah, so I'm hoping, if fingers crossed, that will come out as part of the box set. As part of the box set, it should come out at the end.
Well,
That'd be great.
That is actually part of Kay's next question. He said, in one of the first Cherry Pop re-releases, it was talked about a long-awaited box set. When can we expect this box set, and how long will you keep working on Sheena material in the future?
Well, the box set will come out at the end. Will be the I don't know if it'll be the last thing, but it will come out. The plan is we'll keep releasing stuff individually like we're doing. So there'll be vinyl releases ongoing for all of them.
Mm.
I'm not sure if we'll do the Spanish album or not as a standalone vinyl. Maybe not that one. I don't know. It depends, I think, on the performance of the ones we're currently having. You know, that might be a little bit niche. I don't know to do this, but all the other vinyl will come out, and they'll come out in sequence. And then we'll also be doing deluxe sets on ones where there's enough material to justify it being a deluxe set.
Okay.
You know, enough bonus material and unreleased tracks. And at the end of that, there will be the box set. And the box set will include all the albums. Wow. And a DVD of all videos.
Jeez.
That's the plan. All the promo videos, yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I know that's been a big question too, is when can we get the DVD of all her music videos? So that'll be exciting for people to hear. And it's something to look forward to, because that means that when you buy the box set, you're going to have some things in there that you haven't had before. So that'll be really...
Absolutely. That's been the plan all along to you know, not to have people buy everything, they have to buy it again. So there's got to be stuff on the box set which has like is going to be. I mean, I'm hoping really about half of what's on the box set won't have been out.
Right.
In terms
but also that will include, like, if a particular release doesn't get released because it doesn't have bonus material.
Yes.
It will be included in the box set, but it will also have that remastered sound. That, so that's another thing, another reason why, you know, to pick up the box set.
Exactly. Everything. So it's been really important for me, for the campaign, to make sure that we have everything. We source the original tapes for everything. So like these vinyl releases, You Could Have Been With Me, that's remastered. But that remastered vinyl will be those remastered audio will be released as a CD, will be in the box set. But there just wasn't enough stuff to do. I mean, we could have done it, I guess. We could have put it out as like just the 10 tracks. And you can't really do a DVD because it's just, I mean, there are 2 videos. You know, it's Just Another Broken Heart and You Could Have Been With Me, right? Those are the only 2 videos for that album. So it didn't really make sense to do it as a DVD. There wasn't enough material to do it as a 2-disc.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few bits and pieces, some instrumentals, some other bits, but whatever there is, if we can get extra bits cleared, they will appear in the box set. So it didn't make sense at this point, and there wasn't enough material to do You Could Have Been With Me as a standalone. But people don't need to worry, because it will come out, but it'll be part of the box set.
Sweet. And then I guess Kay's last part of that was how long are you going to keep working on Sheena material in the future? Until
we run out of material to work on. So I think it'll be at least another year of stuff. I have a few other plans for other special things afterwards, but that may or may not happen. But I would say what is pretty definite in my mind is that we definitely will continue releasing them one by one, the vinyl albums and deluxe editions as well as appropriate for material we have, and then finally the box set. And that will take us another year.
Yeah, I think Kay, and I may be assuming here incorrectly, so forgive me, Kay, but I know I've seen questions on social media, on the group pages, the fan pages, about whether or not like the MCA material would get re-released. So I think that's what they're inferring to. I don't think they're talking just specifically about EMI, but there's a lot of questions about bonus material and stuff like that for MCA release.
MCA. I mean, I can't really speak to MCA at the moment because that's not part of what this is. So
right.
It's a completely separate license agreement, completely separate record company and label. But I would love to do the MCA stuff afterwards, yeah. But that's the whole other thing. So,
but a possibility, right, in the future.
A possibility, and definitely thing I'd want to do, and would try to do. But we've still got quite a way to go, like I was saying, about over a year with this EMI material.
So we'll focus on EMI. And then we'll start putting pressure for MCA
and then
that's done.
People can attack me about MCA.
Yeah, and Chris and I will go visit MCA.
That's right.
But I'd love to do the MCA stuff. And there are some positive things that have happened in that area, which lead me to believe that it's not impossible to happen.
Right.
It goes through different waves, different labels kind of release stuff, but MCA have in the past notoriously been. Notoriously, I shouldn't say that, but have pointedly. No, maybe I shouldn't say pointedly. lots of MCA things that you'd think would come out. Jodie Watley, you mentioned earlier, haven't come out. Lots of MCA haven't been like at the.
They haven't been focused on catalog.
But then recently they had obviously, and I can't help but feel it could be in the wake of this Sheena campaign. The albums have appeared on streaming.
Yes.
The MC albums have reappeared. So that suggests a kind of...
They're awakening. Yeah. Good. And then we have from Jeff, who says, any word yet from Sheena regarding how she feels about the quality and care that has gone into these deluxe reissues? And then there's another question, but we'll do that one first.
Well, Sheena's been great from the beginning. In fact, she wrote a whole piece, which an edited extract appeared on the in the very first release we did in the definitive singles. So which was I was told that she never does that. So that was great. So she's been very good at obviously every bit of artwork, every track, everything you hear and see gets approved by Sheena.
That's great.
Approval. So, and she's been very, great at turning that all around quickly. So that's been good. That's been great. I would love, I hope maybe there's time that she could be interviewed for one of the things in the future. That hasn't happened yet, but it'd be good if it can. But even if it doesn't, we'll continue going ahead and, I think she's somebody, go on, sorry.
Just a good sign that she's on board and positive about this whole thing was the fact that she promoted the Live at the Hollywood Palace release before it came out. She doesn't typically do stuff like that. She doesn't talk about re-releases. And so the fact that she mentioned that in one of the Q&As to me indicated that, she was excited about that as well. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm really glad we did that one, that Live at the So that was a great one to do and get the audio that never been released and stuff. That was a really.
I'm still blasting that in my car. It sounds like I'm at the concert itself. The quality is incredible.
Right? Oh. Yes, it is. It's amazing. Gosh, that was a lot of work to get that.
So the other part of Jeff's question, and it kind of answered one of them. He wanted to know: is there anyone that you wanted to interview for the liner notes and booklets that you haven't been able to? Like Nile Rodgers, David Leonard, and he just wanted to let you know too. He's a huge fan of Eternity.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, actually, I have been in touch with David Leonard, but we haven't actually spoken on the phone yet. So I have been in touch with David Leonard. I spoke to Jay Graydon recently, which was amazing.
Oh,
he's an interesting character.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, and he produced
Al Jarreau and Manhattan Transfer and.
Warwick. Yeah, I mean, so many people, and he did half of. Well, he did he did some tracks for Best Kept Secret.
Yes,
including One Smile. And the amazing.
Did he ever? Did you ever talk to him about why he only did 4 tracks? That was unusual during that time. It became more popular to have multiple producers on an album, but I always wondered why. There were that album in particular was split between Greg and Jay, who were in the same camp, like they had the same kind of circle of musicians. Greg worked a lot with Jay, so I maybe that was part of it?
Well, the story, yes, I do know that. And I spoke to both Greg and Jay about that for Best Kept Secret and why it happened that way. So, I mean, Sheena was just coming off that huge hit with Kenny, which was produced by David Foster. So David Foster, that was the first time Sheena had worked with an American producer, the first time not working with Christopher Neal. We've Got Tonight becomes a huge hit. So the obvious person to go for the new album is David Foster.
Mm-hmm.
So David was the first person in the line to do that album, but he wasn't available. He was too busy. So David Foster was represented by a management company at the time who managed different producers called Shanklin and DeBozio. And they also managed Jay Graydon. And they also managed Greg Matheson. So Jay was like was the next in line, basically, after David Foster. So that's why Jay was approached to do Best Kept Secret. But he was so busy that he didn't have time to do the whole album. So he ended up doing 5 tracks with her.
Wow.
4 of which made the album. Wait a minute, is it 4? Is it 4 tracks? 3 on the album?
3 made the album, and there was 3. I Like the Fright, Let Sleeping Dogs Lie, and Just One Smile, and then the B-side to Telephone, Wish You Were Here Tonight, was the 4th.
No, it was the 4th, yeah. So he did those 4 tracks.
God,
the rest were done with Greg. So Greg wasn't originally in the picture. But interestingly, Sheena at the time really loved Gloria, the Lorna Branigan hit. Wanted to work with a guy who had done. And she didn't even realize that Greg doing it. So when she finally hooked up with Greg, because he was the next in line, because Jay couldn't do it all, by a coincidence, it was like, yeah, I'm actually the guy. He was actually the guy who had done Gloria.
Yeah.
And Mickey, he did Mickey too.
Yes, he did Mickey. Gloria was a track that she had specifically kind of had a thing about. But he had done Mickey, yeah. So Greg, the year before they worked together, they ended up in the studio in 83. But in 82, he had the US #1 and #2 record simultaneously, which was Mickey was #1.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey by Tony Basil. Gloria by Laura Branigan was #2. Which he co-produced that. So yeah, he was hot.
So curious to see what direction David Leonard would have went with David Foster would have went with the album.
Well, one would imagine that it would be much more MOR, right?
Right.
Kind of where he was at with his production. Yeah. But then, of course, what Jay Graydon did on the album, tracks like Let Sleeping Dogs Lie and I Like the Fright, is very edgy, kind of new wave sounding of the time, quite unlike the stuff he had just done with Dionne Warwick.
Yeah.
Great album he did with Dionne Warwick, which is very smooth kind of soul. He did a lot of those. He did the Al Jarreau stuff, which was kind of jazz, more, So, he could do, all these guys could do so many different things. Greg Matheson, who obviously did Telephone and did the whole half, 2/3 of Best Kept Secret, all of Private Heaven. Those are very new wave sounding modern records, but he also was a huge is and remains a huge jazz guy and a West Coast kind of soft rock sounding, So these guys are real musicians and real sort of arrangers who can turn their hand to many things, DJs who just kind of press a button and program beats. These are proper songwriters and, arrangers, producers. So, yeah. How did we get to that?
There's a great story of Jay Graydon writing "Give Me the Night" on the toilet bowl. If you want to look it up, he's quite a character. I listened to a podcast interview with him, and he's got a very unique personality. Seems like a great guy. But
let's not forget his big gem, "Give Me a Break" by Nell Carter.
Oh, did he? Did he do that?
Did he?
Yeah.
He wrote "After the Lover's Gone" with.
That's a
Fire.
great song.
And he won a Grammy for "Never Give Up on a Good Thing" by
George Benson.
Did he?
Oh no, Turn Your Love Around. Sorry.
Did he do the Manhattan Transfer at one point too? A couple of their, right?
Yeah. I think he did Twilight Zone, which I like. The Fright was very much in the vein of.
Very much in the vein of, very similar kind of sound. Yeah, he did that whole album. Extensions is called that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how these names, everything, when you start looking at the credits and who's worked with who, how it all starts kind of fitting together. The musicians and a lot of the guys from Two end up in Toto, who were in Toto, were playing on those records as well. Who played on Best Kept Secret, who played on, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's been great tracking down people. So pretty much everyone I've wanted to speak to so far, I have. The person I would love to speak to, Nile Rodgers. I mean, I haven't even tried yet. So I'll try. That seems, I don't know how easy that's going to be.
Yeah.
He's so in demand, isn't he? And I've been trying to find. I don't think he's spoken. He hasn't spoken a lot about Sheena.
No, the only thing I recall, he did some interview in Scotland. It might have been 10 years ago, where they asked him about her, and he had said, which I had never read before, so I don't know how true it is, or if he even said it. It's on the internet, but he had said that she had stayed at his house with him in New York when they recorded "Do You," and I think she taught him how to play some game that they would play all the time, and he said that they got along great. And it was interesting, because then you read different things that supposedly she said, which wasn't saying anything about the personal relationship of that, but just said they didn't gel artistically. And so that's interesting, which I'm sure happens. You have a very in-demand producer who probably is not used to that much input from an artist, and then you have a very strong-willed artist who knows what sound she wants, and so you're going to have some creative conflicts, I'm sure, in the studio, with egos and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard her say anything really negative about anybody she worked. Well, David Cassidy. Well, but I don't think anybody else. I don't think I've ever heard her say anything.
And I also wonder with that, what the comment she made about Nile, was that, I imagine that might have been after the record had been out, a few years after, and it hadn't done maybe what was hoped it would do commercially.
Yeah, and that always plays, I think that plays a part in it too, that, if the album had come out and been a mega million success, would you still have that perception? Perhaps you would. Perhaps you still would say, yeah, even though it was successful, I wasn't enjoying the creative process of that. You might. Yeah. I know that some artists have those types of albums and they don't go right back in the studio with the producer. They, and that indicates something, like maybe it wasn't as good as it, Madonna herself didn't use Nile again.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't think David Bowie, did he ever use them?
Yeah.
He might have used them.
Oh, no, I think he did, because it wasn't Black Tie, White Noise. Was that?
Yeah, he might have years later. I know Diana Ross did, but Diana Ross infamously, that whole album that was huge for her, called Diana, with Upside Down I'm Coming Out.
Yeah.
The original mix was never used. That was done by Nile and Bernard Edwards.
Right.
She actually was very upset about it. There's a good story, I think, in his book. He wrote an autobiography where I think she went out to dinner with the DJ Frankie. What's his name from BLS?
Nichols?
No,
Frankie
that's
Nichols?
the DJ Frankie Crocker.
Oh,
he's a legendary DJ here in New York, and he listened to the tracks and said something to her like, "They're trying to ruin your career."
Oh.
And so she had dinner with Nile Rodgers and said, "Are you trying to ruin my career?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And then, but he admits now, he's like, I listened to the mixes we did, and they actually re-released the original mixes with the mixes that she had done by someone else. Yeah. And I think she did it with that person. And he said, she's right. They actually sound better. So,
yeah.
Yeah, although the other original Chic mixes do sound great as well. It's just a slightly different vibe. It
Yeah.
sounds a bit more like a Chic record. She made it sound more like a Diana record. But
Right.
I can understand the nervousness because, I mean, of course, Diana ended up being her biggest selling album, so we didn't need to worry. But they didn't know that at the time because it was the sound is quite a. I mean, she had done disco records, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sort of notch up, and it was further away from what she had done. And so you can understand.
Yeah, there's always a little bit, you know, what are the fans going to think? And it's a career. It's a career move. Even Sheena and Niall, I'm not, you know, I don't know what the decision there was, but there was a decision for her to exploit a lower part of her vocal range because all the songs are done in keys that have her placed lower than we had ever heard her before in previous, except on a few tracks here or there, album tracks like Love and Affection probably had a little bit of a lower. Sugar Walls had a bit of a lower. And I don't know who made that decision, but I know as a 15-year-old fan at the time, I was a little confused. I was like, something sounds different. Like she sounds different.
I agree.
Now I know what it is. It's that they made a conscious decision for that album to have her singing in a lower key. And I don't know, again, if that was a compromise, because I infamously from reading his book, he had a thing with singers singing too high in their vocal range. He was upset with Madonna for singing so high on Material Girl. And his preference was Angel, which had her singing in a lower part of her register. So again, I don't know how much that played a part in it, but it was interesting because the next album, if you listen to No Sound But a Heart and the narrative songs, she's singing right back up there. Like, you know, so I don't know if that was part of the creative difference, but that very thing is what I think, at least for me, it's what appeals to me about that album. It's why I love that album so much, because I love to hear that different part of her voice. And it just sounds great. The songs are great. But I was confused as a fan. I was at that time like scratching my head a little bit, especially when I heard Do It for Love, which
I thought, uh-oh.
That's interesting. I also think for the Do You album that I love that album, and I know I've read recent. I've got the impression that some people there's a division, and some people aren't.
You love it or you hate it usually.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that the perception of it, I think, would have been quite different if different singles had been chosen as well.
Yes, I agree with you. I don't know why Do It for Love. It's not a bad song, but it certainly wasn't the best in terms of being a single.
At all,
and you know what else? When if I have someone else listen to that album who's maybe younger and doesn't know the history of 80s music, that's the album that they respond to the most. Yeah, they still, you know, it still sounds good today. So the production itself is very good, and I think her vocals are great. I mean, I think she sounds incredible throughout the album.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I think maybe less than a handful of tracks that I could say were superior, like Don't Turn Your Back, Don't Break My Heart, Can't Wait Till Tomorrow. You know, those are really good tracks. You know what I found weird? She never performed on The Tonight Show for this album, but all the other ones she has.
Yeah, she didn't. Much TV.
Yeah, she didn't.
I think that may have been because she did not have a live band with her. She didn't go out on tour for that album either. She was supposed to go out in the summer after. I think they were hoping it was going to do better, and she was going to go out in the summer of '86. But so leading up to that, the touring band was disbanded, the one with Bruce Hornsby and The Range, and then. So I think all her appearances, you're right, they were solid gold. You know, they were lip syncing, but she also didn't appear on American Bandstand, which was unusual.
Nope.
I think she's Soul Train, didn't she, for Do It for Love?
She did Soul Train, yeah. Yeah. And maybe there was some behind the scenes thing with that. Who knows, you know?
But I was supposed to see her in '86, but then she stiffed me to go see Barbara Streisand in her backyard.
Can you blame her?
Yeah, right.
No, I probably would too.
She did some of the songs from "Do You" on the new Sound But a Heart tour, the tour that was supposed to.
Oh, did
it was
she?
already booked,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
she was gonna. Yeah, I guess they had this tour booked to promote "No Sound But a Heart." It even had Adam. It had a tour book with description, like the promo sheet for "No Sound But a Heart" inside, describing each track on the album. And so here you go to see her on the tour for this album that never was released.
Yeah.
And she did only a couple of songs. She did, I think, "Still in Love" and
Still Willing to Try.
"Still Willing to Try." I think that was.
And then Can't Wait Till Tomorrow.
And then from "Do You," she did "Can't Wait Till Tomorrow," Jimmy Mack, "Young Lions."
Oh no, she also did for "No Sound But a Heart," she did the James Ingram one.
Oh, "No Ordinary Love."
Yep, she did "No Ordinary Love." Yep.
That's right.
Wow. Okay.
So that was the only time she did. Say that again.
What was it? So there was in the tour, that tour, which would have been what, the 87 tour. There was something which was referring to the
Her tour book was all about "No Sound But a Heart"
because it was supposed to come out.
But that album never came out that time.
It never came out. So in the summer of '87, they had assumed that album was going to be released still.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she knew at that point when she went out on tour, but she only did a few songs from that album, and then she did like 4 songs from "Do You."
Right. Interesting.
And that's the only time she did songs from "Do You." She never did them except Jimmy Mack. She did Jimmy Mack for the Lover and Me tour.
Right. Right. I'm not still 100% clear on the what happened with. I know that it didn't come out in America, No Sound. It definitely didn't come out in the UK, but it was released at the time in some countries, I think.
I drove to Canada to get it.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was released in Canada.
Yeah.
Canada had it on the shelves, but I believe they did have to take it down at some point. And Japan was the only place where it was officially allowed to be released. So you could get import copies from Japan. But I think Canada, from what I understood, it was on the shelves and then it was removed from the shelves.
Interesting. So it wasn't really widely available until that release on CD in the early
years. That was the first wide release of that.
Wide release of it, right. And previously it had just been vinyl only or CD as well?
No, there was a CD Japan pressing.
Right.
The one that I received when I went to Montreal was the cassette.
Right. Cassette, oh my God.
Yeah. And I remember in a morning interview, she did a morning interview for promoting Eternity. And I remember them asking when the album was going to be released. And she said there was a manufacturing issue with the pressing of the CD. And so they wanted to make sure they could release both the CD and the vinyl at the same time. So that once they straightened that out, they were going to, again, I don't know if this was all just what she was saying with
Chris, I think that's like trouble in the booth.
Right. But, you know, there was obviously some stuff going on in the record.
Yeah. Uncertainty about where her contract was coming to the end.
Because I also read that she understood while she was recording it that this was never going to be released.
Right.
So.
It's a shame, really. There's so much great material on that album. And those sessions around that time, you know.
Sure.
It's just the way it's packaged, the way it's understood, and it's kind of got a bit lost. But,
But this is where, like, you know, you talk about, obviously there's a genuine talent there and it rises above everything else. And there's determination, but she always says too, you know, how it's not just about that. There's also luck. And, you know, she auditioned for this Miami Vice role. She didn't initially get it. She wasn't chosen. Right. There was another actress chosen. That actress got sick. She literally got the call the night before to come down to Miami and do her first acting gig. You can imagine what that felt like.
Yeah.
And then, you know, who knew that You Got the Look was going to be, you know, the third single from the album? There would be a video shoot for that, and that became such a huge hit that I don't think either of them expected. And so all those things really helped her at a time where it could have been, you know, a very hard climb back to get on the charts after that. Sometimes it's when there's a successive amount of things that just don't make the top 40. Sometimes radio programmers are just so close-minded that they won't even give an artist a chance after that. They're just like, no, that's, and so they were forced to, and you know, by her high profile at that time, to go ahead and.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, it was those projects outside of her main, like it was Miami Vice and the Prince collaboration.
And those commercials, that was a very good marketing move by her and her manager to choose at that time to keep her profile by doing something that wasn't so, you know, it was very rare for an artist to do commercials, especially in the US. They all did them across seas because no one saw them in the US. But in the US, it was very rare. You were considered not cool if you did commercials. So no artist would do commercials at that time. Now it's accepted. Branding is like looked on as like, oh, you're cool. You know, you have some it factor. But back then it wasn't like that. But these ads were done where they promoted her song, which was, you know, one of the songs, the last song that was a big hit besides Sugarwall Strut. But it also did something for her image because there was a sexier side to her. She was wearing clothes that showed off her body. She was doing a body campaign, you know, for working out. And so that also helped with, you know, kind of shaping that image that wound up being what she, you know, used for The Lover and Me. So
which was more of a continuation from that and from You Got the Look as well. Yeah.
So good. But Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, sure. No problem.
Record Day is today, and you can get, if you want to hold it up for everybody to see. And Chris, I know you're heading out to go get it today.
I will be at my record store, which is 5 minutes away, and I will be screaming at them.
But yes, look at this. Oh,
there we go.
Beautiful. Always
great job,
incredible.
Adam.
Yep. I love that picture.
That's a great picture, isn't it?
I love that. And that was in between the first album and the second, right?
Yeah, I think that was kind of there was so many shoots done then it kind of blurred, but it was it was basic that 1981 I think.
Yeah.
Around that era as well, a little bit later I think.
Yeah, looks like 82.
On the first disc we have this, which I think was about 83.
Yeah,
that's around about Madness, Money and Music, Best Kept Secret era.
Yeah, I remember that picture.
And then on this one we have that's around Do You.
Do You.
Yeah. That photo was used as a poster for her fan club.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yep, I had it. I think I still do. I have to look.
Interesting. In one of the reviews of this, I heard somebody said, I can't remember what it was. Was it a written review? But somebody said, all the hits were on the first record and not on the second one. And it was like, that was interesting because it's kind of not really true from a British perspective.
Well, from the British, exactly.
Yeah, like she never. All the British hits are on the first.
Yeah.
But the second
US hits,
the American hits, which in fact were even bigger. Well, some of them were even bigger hits, like Strut and Telephone and Sugar Walls and what have you.
Right.
So, you know, she had a pretty good hit rate, I think.
Oh yeah,
good.
100%. Now you'll be back in June, am I not? Am I correct?
Talk about You Could Have Been With Me. Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah,
totally.
People I spoke to, you know, I spoke to all the songwriters pretty much for that album. And there's some great stories about that, so that would be interesting.
Will the You Could Have Been With Me album vinyl release, will that have an inner like notes?
It will have an inner sleeve with but it won't have the notes with it. No, not on the vinyl. No, that will all come out
with the box set.
With the box set later.
Okay.
You have to wait for that one.
I know. Oh,
That's okay.
feels like it's so far off.
We'll get some of the scoop from you in June.
Yeah, exactly. I can give you little snippets.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you, Adam, so much. Congratulations on this as well. Another great, successful record day to you. I hope it sells out just like the other ones have. Yes. Oh, my God. That is the best. I love that for the single cover.
This is the thing.
So
this is
cool.
one of the things I'm probably most excited about we've done.
Yeah.
Because I just love, I'm really thrilled about the artwork.
Is the speed on that 45 or is it 33?
Oh, no, it's 45.
45,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a 45, yeah. Yeah, put back in the right way. Yeah. So, yes, very pleased with that. Well, thank you guys for having me again. That's fantastic. I've enjoyed it.
Congratulations.
This is our highlight of the year when you come on, because you've been coming on since I think it was October 21 when the first release came out. So we really appreciate it.
The third show.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad. I love it. I love coming back, and I'll be back.
Yeah.
I just want to say something.
Yeah.
Because we can say it now.
So,
there were no disappearing acts. Adam was with us the whole interview. He stayed out.
Yeah, we had to edit last time. It kept cutting out. Yep.
I know. It's been a miracle, hasn't it? It's been technical hitch free.
This is an edit's dream today.
Yeah.
Amazing. What's going on? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Adam, so much. And Chris, thanks for joining as always.
Always a pleasure to work with you both. Adam, congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks both.
This is where we wave goodbye. Bye.
Bye. See you next time.